New York and on the new Hot 97 app. Ebro in the morning on Hot 97.
It's Ebro in the morning. Laura Stiles, Rosenberg, and Mo Amer here on the program. But that's not his name. That's not his name. Stop clapping.
That is my name.
That's not your name.
That is my name.
Your
Mo
name
Amer
is not Mo Amer.
I mean, you want the Muhammad Mustafa Badu Amr Omar.
Yes, that's what I need, and I want to learn how to say it right.
I'm really.
I
mad
like
that-
culture.
I'm mad that I just even put my full name out there. I know there's like some Arab dude out there like Muhammad. Oh man, that's my cousin. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
This guy dropped a Netflix special. It's my cousin. No,
But
it's not
you
good.
just tried before we went on the air like 8 times to say
Mo Amer.
Amer.
Well, she just made it Spanish.
I
Yeah, I was
did.
about to say,
I
that's
did.
not it.
I did.
That's what happened. I was introduced on stage that way. She's actually my wife now. She introduced me on stage like up and coming Latino comedian Mo Amer.
But isn't that interesting though? How like when you're in New York City specifically, right?
Uh-huh.
When you look like myself, I'm not Spanish, right? My mother's Jewish, my father's black. People automatically assume I'm Dominican or Puerto Rican. How often do you get that?
I got it yesterday. The funny thing is, like, when I'm out of town and my barber's not around, like, I Google Puerto Rican haircuts. See? So I was like, yo, can you give me that fade edge up on the side? Like, just like this Puerto Rican haircut right here, so I get it.
Yeah,
It's
man.
my fault, partly.
And when you think
It's
about
like-
the cultural mix, though, think about the cultural mix of Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Arabs, it's African, European mixed in there somewhere, some indigenous.
Yeah, it's-
Blends.
You look like you're cooking right now, bro.
That's what it is. It's a
That's what it
cook-up.
is. No, I mean, well, the Arabs were in Sicily for 300 years. They were in Spain for 700 years. So, I mean, the mix was already happening, many, many years ago. And
Black,
they came over here,
European,
black,
yeah.
European. I mean, it's like it just makes that middle shade. That middle shade is the one that confuses
The
everybody.
middle shade.
That middle shade. But I could tell like North Africa. I could tell, Tunisians, Moroccans.
Oh, you can?
Yeah. I mean, you travel enough where you just like, oh, okay, I get it.
And so where are your people from?
I'm Palestinian originally, yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, it's
Palestinian
all-
Jews
it's
right
every-
here.
everybody.
Bringing the world together
Why
right
you
here.
pointing
on
that
Ebro in
way?
the
You
morning.
just said you half Jewish.
he picks and chooses when he
Yeah.
includes himself. It's
Is
crazy.
that what
I never
it
seen
is?
anything like it. So wait, your Netflix special is called Vagabond, The Vagabond.
Correct.
So tell us about that lifestyle, like your life as a refugee. What's your history?
Man, well, I was born in Kuwait. I left Kuwait after the first Gulf War, and I ended up in Houston, Texas, because that's where refugees naturally gravitate to, I
Evidently.
guess.
I never
Where
knew
we
that.
going? Houston. Okay. Like, I mean, my brother was getting his PhD in Houston, so that's why we ended up there. But yeah, ended up there, started doing stand-up 5 years later, and here I am. I mean, like,
So
I
how
had
old
to
were you when
travel
you
the world.
left?
I was 9.
Got it.
Yeah, I was 9 years old and had to acclimate to this climate. It was just totally different, situation to go from Kuwait it was like very innocent life in Kuwait. You come to America, this kid was like dragging me. My dad's got Playboy. I was like, oh, is these like I thought it was like a toy magazine.
Yes,
I was like,
something to play with in there, but
I was like,
yo.
So
Yeah,
when
it
did
was
you
just-
start? When did you start experimenting with comedy?
I started when I was 14. Yeah, bless you. So I started when I was 14. My dad passed away around then, and it was just the whole thing was a struggle. Just the move here, the just extreme change.
How soon
to-
after you moved here did your dad pass away?
Well, my dad didn't. Well, I moved here when I was 9. My dad came through when I was like 12 because he had to finalize, do dad stuff. He just had to finish all the paperwork, get everything together,
And they had to get
finances.
you guys safe, and he had to probably deal with other
Exactly.
stuff.
He was the last person to actually end up coming.
Okay.
So when he did, about 2 years. And it's interesting because everybody died. Like all of my dad's best friends died early. All of them. They all lost millions of dollars overnight. They all lost their fortunes that they worked their entire lives for. They all. It's
I don't
tripping.
understand what was happening with the geopolitical. What was Kuwait? It
This
was
is
oil,
Gulf War?
right? It was oil, Gulf War oil.
Well, yeah,
It was oil.
Saddam invaded Kuwait.
Yeah.
And then Kuwait bounced. Like all the entire government was just like, yo, we don't have any way to protect ourselves, bounced. America came in, saved the situation in January, and that's how that played out. But we had to bounce. We had to leave the house. I mean, it was crazy. Actually,
So why
there's
did
many
everyone lose their
stories.
money?
I'm sorry?
Why did everyone lose their money?
Well, Saddam Hussein claimed to, when he took over Kuwait, it's weird how this all works, right? Banks all shut down, 1. 2, Saddam Hussein said now the Baghdadi dollar was equivalent to was equivalent to the Kuwaiti dinar, which at that point, the 1 Kuwaiti dinar was $3 US. It was very, very strong. Still is to this day. It might be 4-1 to this day, 2-1. I don't know what it is, but it's very, very strong. So when he announced that, I mean, just if I don't know, it's a game, right? It's like I don't know. It just all of a sudden,
All of a
it's
sudden, the
equal.
money was gone.
All the
basically.
money was gone. Banks are closed. Everything's shut down. Like the entire country shut down.
And do you think that these people, your dad's friends and your loved ones, died because of the level of stress they went through during that time?
100%. There's no doubt. I mean, if you're in your like 50s and you lose your entire fortune. I think like how are you gonna rebuild, son? It's over. You know, like it's a wrap.
a different type of over.
It's a
It's a different type of
of
L.
Yeah,
like
it's
we
a-
talk about L's on Instagram. Like, oh, Meek's holding the L, Drake's holding the L. No. This is an L.
This is a real L. Yeah, 100%. And that's and that's what happened, man. My dad lasted about a few years. He was a great dude, great man, and he passed away. And then I just was like, I started skipping school. I come from a highly educated family, so for me to skip school was like huge.
Your brother was getting a
I was like,
PhD.
back-
You out
yeah.
here doing
I
comedy.
know.
Yeah,
So
I'm out here skipping school, going to selling fake Rolexes to like drug dealers to make money, and going to like these baseball games. I was living like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off constantly. And my English teacher walked up to me. She said, "Look, I know your dad passed away. I know this. How would your dad feel if you didn't graduate?" I was like, "I would be devastated." She got me. I started crying. I was like, "Yo, you got me." She was just like, "Look, I know you want to do stand up. I tell you what, I'll let you do stand up in front of the class every Friday if you don't skip anymore. Wow. And if you do a monologue from Shakespeare, I'll let you. I'll let you. If you do a monologue from Shakespeare, I'll give you the same grade that you had the first semester." My dad died over winter break. I was like, "I'm in." So that's how it started. I started doing
who's
stand-up.
this teacher?
Miss Broderick, man, where are you?
Yo,
We've been
Miss
trying to find you.
Broderick, well done.
Have you been
Yeah.
trying to find her for real?
I have been. I mean, I used the Houston Chronicle to try to find her, and then I've just been mentioning her in all my interviews.
But you haven't found her.
No, I haven't.
Wow.
Yeah. She changed my life. Like I was doing so much stand up on a weekly basis in class that she took me to the theater arts department. Like, oh, this kid's been coming in with like original content, doing accents on a weekly basis. I think he belongs here. I'm pretty sure he belongs here. And then a year later, I started doing theater, and that's what like educated me about the history of just the art itself and not stand up in particular, but I just learned so much. And the next thing you know, I'm like doing lead roles, and a funny thing happened away the forum, playing like pseudolus and singing. I didn't know I could sing. I started singing theatrically. It was a great thing. Then I graduated and I started doing stand up right away.
Well, now he's at Caroline's, and if you want to go laugh and cry, because I was just tearing up just now. This is an amazing story.
Yeah.
This is an amazing coming of age tale.
And how did you meet Dave Chappelle?
Selling fake Rolexes. No, I met Dave. So I did I was part of a comedy team called Allah Made Me Funny.
Okay.
And we toured. It was like we were just this indie like Muslim crew that were just touring all over the world doing stand up, and we made like this indie film, and I mean it was like a real budget, like $250,000 documentary film, and we released it independently, domestically, and then it became this hit globally, and then we started touring, doing like Nelson Mandela Theater in South Africa, like doing multiple cities there and throughout Europe, and then Dave's sister heard about us and she became a fan. His mom heard about us, became a fan. He was like, "Who are these guys?" Listened to the CD of Azhar's that he released, who's part of our crew. He was like, "I really need to know these guys." And Preacher Moss, who started in DC as well, who started All That Made Me Funny. And so he just surprised us at one of our shows in 2007 in Columbus, Ohio. His whole family came out, and he just does an hour of like straight, clean stand-up and murders the whole room, talking about going to pilgrimage and stuff. I mean, it was crazy. It was wild. It was
So
wild.
is all your comedy clean because of...
No, I mean that was something that I did at a certain point in time, and I started in a comedy club scene. I started like very thick, and then in it, and then Preacher Moss, who started All That Made Me Funny, asked me to be part of All That Made Me Funny. I was like, "What is this?" It sounded corny to me at first. I was like, "What is this?" It sounds Disney, but then I was just like, "Oh, this could be a really dope experience," and I did it. And we had an incredible experience, and I'm glad I did it because that's how I met Dave. I mean, it's incredible. He's my mentor. I've done over 700 shows with Dave at this point.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So cool, right?
Juanito, you saw the show?
I did, yeah. I saw the
Radio
whole
City?
special. I knew him through Sipes, so Sipes is a good friend of ours. But was a part of his special when he talks about his mom being gangster, right? Like helping him get across, through all the immigration, all that stuff. And I can relate because my mom did the same thing for my brothers. Like smuggle them in the country, X, Y, and Z.
Oh, is there a statute of limitations? Chill.
Oh,
B.
sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Oh, you? Yeah. Yeah. When he meant smuggle, he meant coffee beans.
Yeah.
No, it just touched me a lot. I was like, why am I crying this special? But it's hysterical. I think, it's an amazing special, yo.
Yo, thank you, man. Yeah, it was like one of those things to have with my mom. It was just incredible. I just wanted to like celebrate her. Like when she came to Radio City Music Hall when I was doing shows with Dave there, and she was in the audience, and that was like very special to me, of course. I mean, she was like wilding out. She saw Chance. She don't even know who Chance the Rapper is, right? She just like stood up the whole time wilding out.
That's
Chance the
tight.
Rapper was like overwhelming. And she saw me do the shows with John and all that, and I didn't tell that story in front of her because I've done it before, but I wanted to save it. I'm like, no, one day it'll be dope. And I did it at the special taping. It was just crazy. Like when I walked out, when people were going nuts, when I walked out from my special, I'd look over at my mom. She's just like bawling. I'm like, we did it. It was like one of those things. We're supposed to be laughing here, guys. You guys all looking at me. Everybody's like tearing up.
No, I love the story, man.
It's
This is a
dope,
phenomenal. I'm
yeah.
like amazed, and I'm thinking in my mind, right? We just had Hassan Minaj up here, who's Muslim also.
That's my brother, yeah.
Right, and you
I met
and
him through
Belly,
Living
who
Funny.
just put out an album called Immigrant, who's
Yeah,
Palestinian
love
also.
Belly.
Khaled's Palestinian also, right? And you just think of all of the, at least I was, all of the negative images
Yeah.
of Muslim Americans, or even just like Jews and Palestinians, or all of these things that we see in
Are
the
you
news.
Jewish now when you pointing this out?
I include myself on that one because it was positive. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
I didn't know when I pointed you guys out if you was gonna start beefing, I was gonna have to
Right.
pick sides. You know what I'm saying?
No.
It's more positive than there is negative, right? Like even after the synagogue shooting in recently in
Pittsburgh.
right? The Muslim Americans that live in that area raised money for the synagogue and was like, "Look, we are here." In
It's
any
always
way,
been part of our history. Muslims and Jewish peoples have always
live side by side.
leaned on each other in these moments. And as a matter of fact, there's like historically a lot of the Jews in Europe would go to Spain in Muslim courts to get their rulings. And when the Holocaust was happening and everything was happening throughout Europe, they went to Africa. A lot of them, that's why you have so many Moroccan Jews, all that they would go for refuge in Muslim countries. So it's always been part of that. So it makes me very sad to see the way
It's
it is
portrayed.
portrayed here.
Yeah,
now,
and then in like real life, like I've only had like positive interactions and relationships with Palestinians and Muslims in general, like my entire life, and it just makes you wonder why it is that this problem persists, because it doesn't seem that a lot of the actual people feel that way.
It's government bullshit.
That's
It's not the people.
It's nationalist bullshit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, nationalist.
Huh?
Nationalist. The old nationalist.
The old
Question
nationalist.
for you: how long did it take you to get your citizenship?
20 years.
Because I think it's really important, because when people come here illegally, they feel like it's something that can happen in a month. People don't realize how long it takes and how much you have to sacrifice. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't get to see their families. For my older sister, it took her 10 years to get her citizenship. Well, during
It's
that,
devastating.
it is. But during that, how did you manage your travels? Because you've toured all over.
It was
I
terrible.
was just about to say, it
It
ain't
was
go nowhere.
terrible. Well, I had a refugee travel document.
Okay,
So that's
okay.
what they give refugees or people who are stateless. They give them refugee travel documents. It only lasts for a year.
Okay.
It's only good for a year.
So
you
you
have to
did move
renew it.
around.
You have to, yeah. Oh, I went to over 20 countries without a passport.
That's
So
crazy.
I would get questioned in every single country. Japan was probably my favorite interrogation. It was just like an hour of them asking me what I did for a living. The
Yo, I got interrogated in Japan, same thing. They kept asking me the same question.
Yeah, that's what he did. He goes, so what is your occupation? I was like, I'm a comedian. He's like, comedian? I was like, yeah, man, I do stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy. I was like, yeah, man, comedy. He was like, comedy. I was like, yeah, man, comedian. Comedian. I was like, yeah, bro, stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy. I was like, yo, am I being roasted right now? I don't even know. Finally, his friend walks in. He's like, hey, how do you say it? How did that comedian? He goes, oh, yeah. He's like a beer Cosby. And I swear, that's what got me off, though, was Bill Cosby. I mean, not literally. but-
It didn't help him.
Yeah, Yeah. No,
Oh, that is
yeah,
good.
I'm for real. That's a word for it. But actually, the last line that I don't have in my special, he looks at me. He's like, "Oh, Bill Cosby," and then he goes, "Are you sure you're not here to buy cars to take them back to Iraq to make car bombs?" And then he laughs like a villain, like that. I was like, "Yo, I'm Bill Cosby." I was like, it was terrible.
You nailed it. You had me at Bill Cosby. Yay.
Yay.
Mo Amer, man.
Amer.
Mo Amer, man. Don't mess up the brand.
Wait, what is it?
Mo
Amer.
Amer.
We're going with Amer?
That's what it is. What do you mean going with?
Wait, say it again.
Amer.
How's your mom say it?
My mom says Hamoudi. That's what she calls me.
It's not even close.
Go check
Come,
Hamoudi. He's
Habibi.
at Caroline's on Broadway. He said Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Wow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the end of the month. Yeah.
Yo, 6 shows, man.
What dates? What date? What's the
That's
first?
it. November 29th.
November 29th,
Yeah.
30,
boom.
December 1st, and December 2nd. It's a good weekend,
Yeah,
too.
I'm gonna have a
because
lot of special guests too. It's gonna be dope.
that's the weekend after
After.
you had to spend the weekend with your family, so you're going to want a night out.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, and by the way, it's gonna be a whole brand new hour. It's nothing that I've done in the special will be done that week. It'll be a whole brand new tour in the new hour, and then coming in hot for 2019 for sure.
Love it.
Tight.
Mo Amer.
Hamoudi, yes. Give it up for Hamoudi, yes. On the show.
Yeah, I love that. I'm Moody, bro.